What crime did you commit?
Second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder.
Okay. Keep talking about coercive context, that the prisoners are working in a coercive context. It's prison. Prison is a coercive context. And people are there for a reason. And I think you're in la-la land if you don't recognize that.
Today we're breaking down one of the most heated moments from the Senate Judiciary Committee in a long time. Senator John Kennedy squared off with activists from the ACLU, a criminal justice professor, and even testimony tied to a convicted murderer, all over one explosive question: what should prison labor actually look like? The argument being pushed? That inmates should earn minimum wage, build retirement through 401k, and even qualify for paid vacation. Yeah. You heard that right. During the hearing, Kennedy zeroed in on ACLU Representative Jennifer Turner and challenged her claim that prison work should be voluntary and paid like jobs outside prison walls. Turner argued that forced labor has no place in America. But Kennedy wasn't buying it. His response was blunt: it's prison. The entire point is that it's not supposed to feel like the free world. His message was simple: people are behind bars for a reason. And in that moment, the entire tone of the hearing shifted. It get crazy from here.
Ms. Turner, I want to be sure I understand your testimony. You think prison labor should be voluntary? Is that the ACLU position? Yes. Okay. And do you think, I'm
sorry, my microphone was off, if I may answer on my own.
Yes, ma'am. Did you answer yes?
My answer is that the majority of incarcerated workers wish to work, but it is vital that that work be truly voluntary and that there is no place for forced labor in the United States. Yes.
Okay. And you think that prisoners who do work are underpaid? Is that the ACLU position?
They are underpaid or unpaid. In your state, many of those workers are unpaid. Okay.
What do you think the starting pay ought to be in my state for a prisoner?
Workers should be paid the minimum wage of the state where they live. And there are true fiscal arguments in favor
minimum
of this.
Wage? Is that
minimum wage, yes.
Do you think prisoners should have a 401k?
I think that, my opinion is not what we're asking about. I'm here to provide information and context for the committee.
Do you think prisoners should be provided with a 401k?
If I may answer, the reality is that if we paid incarcerated workers a minimum wage, it would have net fiscal benefits for the United States.
I'm trying to ask you
workers would be able to pay.
About benefits.
Yes.
Do you think they should be provided with a 401k?
Workers should be eligible to earn into the social safety net. If they're paid minimum wage, workers will be able to earn into Social Security benefits to support themselves. No? That does not include a 401k, okay. But I'm talking about basic social safety net.
Do you think prisoners should be entitled to paid vacation?
Workers should be entitled to workers' compensation when they're injured or maimed on the job, which happens all too often.
So they should be covered under our workers' comp law?
Yes, absolutely. Workers are working in dangerous conditions. Should prisoners be allowed to unionize? Yes.
You believe that too? Okay.
It's vital that workers
should prisoners be provided with health insurance, matched by their employer?
Workers should be covered by workplace health and safety guarantees. Incarcerated
people. What about health insurance?
Incarcerated people are already guaranteed a basic standard of health care. That is already guaranteed by U.S. law.
Health insurance.
They're already guaranteed that, even though the medical care they receive is usually substandard, and when they're injured on the job, often receive substandard care. They are already guaranteed by law basic health care protections while incarcerated.
Mr. Wynn, what crime did you commit?
Second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder.
Okay. Who did you murder?
Jeffrey Owens.
Jeffrey Owen?
Yes, sir.
Why did you murder him?
I was a 16-year-old kid. Me and DeWan had a confrontation, and Jeffrey was an innocent bystander.
Okay. So you shot Jeffrey by accident?
Yes, sir.
You intended to murder somebody else?
I was defending myself against DeWan Lewis.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, You shot at Mr. Lewis
Yes.
and you missed
Yes, sir.
and you hit Mr. What was his name?
Mr. Jeffrey Owens.
Mr. Owens.
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Owens have a mother?
I think everybody born in the world has a mother.
Yeah. But was his mother alive when
Yes.
you killed him?
She's still alive.
Okay. Did Mr. Owens have a father?
Yes,
Who was
sir.
alive when you killed him?
I don't know about his father's.
You never checked?
I mean, as a prisoner in Louisiana, you cannot check on those
Did
type of things.
Mr. Owens have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, he did.
Okay. How many?
I don't know.
Okay. You mentioned that your mother cried when you were sent to Angola. Do you know how Mr. Owens' mother felt? Have you ever reached out to them?
May I ask you a question, Senator?
Well, answer mine first.
I would answer yours.
Okay.
And you asking me questions that an incarcerated person cannot answer. I don't know what Jeffrey Owens' mother did, but human anatomy tells me that, yes, his mother had to cry because she lost a son that she brought into the world. Okay. Yes, his father, if he was living, he should have cried. His brother cried.
Did you ever reach out to Mr. Owens' family?
Sir, you're a senator from Louisiana. If a person like me that was incarcerated reach out to any person that's a victim, that's a sentence. You go to prison for that. And I was already in prison, so that's a different sentence.
So you couldn't
by law, you cannot reach out to the victim or the victim's family.
Well, I will tell you, I came today because I thought we were going to have and I hope we were going to have a rational discussion based on empirical evidence on a very complex, nuanced subject. Frankly, I'm disappointed. You know, Ms. Turner, Professor, I just don't think these emotional arguments are at all productive in us trying to solve a problem. People are in prison for a reason. I believe in free will. I get the impression that the ACLU position and the professor's position, I don't know about Mr. Wynn's position, is that you feel sorry for these folks who are in prison. I wish they weren't there too, but they're there for a reason that really hurt somebody. In Mr. Wynn's case, he murdered somebody. He actually killed somebody by accident. He meant to kill this person and he shot this other person. He could have killed two. And I'm kind of disappointed. And I just don't think we're going to solve this problem with emotional arguments from people who don't believe in free will and responsibility. That's just my point of view. But I thank you all for being here. And I'll say this, Professor, I was struck, Professor Armstrong, you keep talking about coercive context, that the prisoners are working in a coercive context. It's prison. Prison is a coercive context. And people are there for a reason. And I think you're in la la land if you don't recognize that. Sure, you can respond.
Thank you so much. So I think the point is, in fact, that it is prison, but it is when prison is combined with being forced to work in certain environments that it can lead to dangerous conditions. And so I think about...
You have no empirical evidence of that.
Actually, I think that I do. So another life of mine is...
We can all cherry pick. I mean, people who work get hurt sometimes,
yes.
Whether you're in prison or you're out.
Yeah.
Okay?
So I agree. What I'm talking about, and I think is really important to remember, is that our incredible system of justice will sentence somebody to a certain number of years. But what they're not sentenced to is to lose a limb or to lose a finger, because they're working on defective equipment that isn't subject to the same rules, simply the location of a printing press, whether it's behind the wall or something that is out in the free world. its location should not determine to what extent it is a
Professor, I
regulated
understand
piece
your
of
point,
equipment.
and you make a valid point, but I've read some of your writings and some of your work, and I just get the impression that you almost think we shouldn't have prisons. That people, there is no free will. That people don't choose to commit crimes, and then if they do, they shouldn't be held responsible for them. And I just don't think you're entitled to that opinion. It's America.
I don't think I've written that anywhere.
To teach your kids that, but I just don't think I don't think most fair-minded Americans agree with you. And that's just my opinion. I'm happy to have this discussion, and I thank my friend Senator Booker for calling it, but you all seem to forget the fact that we're talking about prison, folks. And people are in prison for a reason. And they're there. No, ma'am, Ms. Turner, I'm going to have my say. I understand the ACLU position. I'm glad you're not in charge, because we'd have a lot more people hurt in this country.
I'd love to continue the conversation with you, Senator Kennedy.
All right, let's break down what just happened in that exchange. First, Senator John Kennedy forced the argument to its logical conclusion. The ACLU didn't just argue that prisoners should work voluntarily. They opened the door to paying inmates minimum wage. And once you say that, Kennedy starts stacking the obvious follow-up questions: retirement accounts, unions, paid leave, workers' comp. That's not random. That's strategy. Because the moment those benefits enter the conversation, the cost shifts directly to taxpayers. Second, the tension in the hearing skyrocketed when Kennedy questioned inmate Terrence Wynn about the murder of Jeffrey Owens. Kennedy wasn't just asking about the crime. He was reminding the room that prison debates often ignore the victims completely. That's the contrast he was drawing: sympathy for criminals versus accountability for what they actually did. And third, when Professor Andrea Armstrong argued that prison labor happens in coercive environments, Kennedy delivered the line that basically summed up the entire hearing. Of course it's coercive. It's prison. The bigger political fight here isn't just about prison jobs. It's about how the justice system should treat people who break the law, as offenders who must serve punishment, or as workers entitled to benefits funded by the public. And judging by the reaction in that room, that debate is only getting louder. Let me know in the comment section, was Kennedy too harsh, or we need leaders to take bold stands and flush out the emotional outbursts that's spoiling the basic constitution that America stands on.